Hey y'all, let's talk about 5 countries with the highest and lowest maternal deaths in the world. I am Dr. Fatu Forna. I am an OBGYN who works to keep pregnant women safe here in the US and around the world. We know that maternal mortality is a big problem for Black women here in the US, but actually maternal mortality is a big problem for Black and brown women all over the world. In fact, most maternal deaths happen in developing countries, in lower and middle income countries. About 95% of all of those deaths happen there. 70% of the deaths happen in sub-Saharan Africa, and 16% of them happen in Asia. So when we look at the countries that have the highest maternal mortality, in 2020, the UN looked at those numbers and kind of listed the countries and their numbers. For maternal mortality, we look at something called we quantify it at something called the maternal mortality rate or the maternal mortality ratio. We count the number of deaths, the number of maternal deaths per 100,000 live births. So you'll hear people talking about that number. So the country with the highest maternal mortality ratio, number one is South Sudan. South Sudan has 1,223 maternal deaths per 100,000 live births. So just a really, really high number of mothers die in South Sudan. Number two is Chad, 1,063. So also numbers over the 1,000 those are just huge. Nigeria is a special case. Nigeria is country number 3, has 1,047 mothers dying per 100,000 live births. But what makes Nigeria special is that it's the number one total number of maternal deaths. Because Nigeria is such a big country, when you look at that rate and you put it in that population, Nigeria has the most women dying in the entire world. About 28%, over a quarter of all women who die during or after childbirth in the world die in Nigeria. That's about 82,000 deaths a year. 82,000 deaths in 2020. So that's a really, really big number. A lot of work has to be done in Nigeria. Country number 4, the Central African Republic. 835 maternal deaths per 100,000 live births. Country number 5 is Guinea Bissau, which is a country in West Africa. All right. So those are the countries with the highest maternal mortality rate. What about the countries with the lowest maternal mortality rate? Most of these countries are in Europe. They're Scandinavian countries. A lot of them are small countries, but some are pretty good size that have done a really good job with keeping their maternal deaths low. The country with the lowest maternal mortality in the world is Norway. Their maternal mortality ratio, remember I was talking about other countries in the thousands, it's two maternal deaths per 100,000 live births. So they hardly ever see a maternal death. Australia, which is a big country, has done very well with keeping their maternal deaths low. They are number 2 with 3 maternal deaths per 100,000 live births. Germany also does a very, very good job. Germany is number 3. They have 4 maternal deaths per 100,000 live births. Netherlands does a wonderful job. They have great midwives. They do home deliveries, however, safe home deliveries that are integrated with transportation to the hospital and access to care. They do it well. Something that we don't do. Like we don't do home deliveries well in the US at all. I'm going to talk about that later. At all. It's not something we should be doing because we don't know how to do it. But the Netherlands is number 4. And they have 4 maternal deaths per 100,000 live births. And Sweden is number 5 with 5 maternal deaths per 100,000 live births. There are actually a lot of other countries in that 3, 4, 5 area, but those are the ones that I talked about. I want to ask about the USA. USA, our country. Where is the US? The US has the highest maternal mortality among all developed or industrialized countries, and all those other countries. The deaths are going down, ours is going up. So the US maternal mortality ratio is 32 per 100,000 live births. Where Norway is 2, Netherlands is 5, Germany is 4, we're 32. So really, really high compared to them. In 2019, we had 754 women, mothers who died in the US. In 2020, we had 861 women who died. And in 2021, we had 1,205 women who died. So our numbers are going up. Nearly every other country in the world, their numbers are either going down or it's stable. And I'll talk about this later. The US is only one of 8 countries where it's going up, which is just, it blows your mind. How do our neighbors do? Let's just talk about Canada, just next door. Canada does relatively well. 11 maternal deaths per 100,000 live births, so lower than the US. So Black women, I just want to come and share this information with you. I want you to pay attention. We're going to be learning about what other countries do. Hopefully we can learn about how that affects us, because I need you to have this information, because at the end of the day, I want you to survive and thrive. Bye.